Hey, Coach. Just to get some quick updates, Brevin Jordan. Do you expect him to return for this Friday night? And also, of the six that were unavailable previously, are any of them closer to returning than others that you may already have back at practice or anticipate will be available?
Brevin is healthy, like what we expected for this game, and I can't comment on the other six. We'll send the list out like we do um, as we get closer to game time.
Okay, and I also just want to get a quick Navon Donaldson. Has he made more progress during the bye toward returning? Is he more available? I know he wasn't allowed to do contact
Yeah,
previously.
there's more things that he can do at practice where he can help us out, but it's still kind of a slow step-by-step process.
Coach, we've got David Lake from Inside the U. David?
Coach, I was wondering if you could just touch on the 3-3-5 defense NC State runs, just the challenges that type of defense poses and just how different is it from, a typical defense, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just something you don't normally see every week. And, their defense coordinators always had a lot of success with it. If you remember, we had the matchup in the West Virginia game in the Orlando Bowl a few years ago, and we couldn't gain a yard for a large portion in the first half of that game. And it just there's a threat of maximum coverage and there's a threat of maximum pressure on every play. And one thing they've always done a really nice job is they're not afraid to bring the house on 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, anywhere on the field. Then they can just, they can bring a couple different pressures. There's just a lot of things that they can throw at you. So you got to have a lot of great communication on your offensive line and backs. And then you got to check because they're able to mix up some coverages down the field where you can make some mistakes if you get a wrong read. So they've always been challenging. And I think just their entire program, I know their strength coach very well. I know Dave Doran, who's a defensive-minded head coach. They're a very strong program. They're a very tough program. You can just see when they hit people on contact, people go backwards. So our guys are ready for another challenge on the road.
Coach, we've got Gary Furman from Kane Sport. Gary, go ahead for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Manny, how you doing this week? Quick recruiting question for you. With you pretty close to full in this cycle, are you holding any scholarships for the transfer portal? And, how extensively do you expect to use that this year? Would you allocate some forward scholarships towards it? Just give us a little bit of an update on where your thinking is there.
It's so funny, Gary. It's like the last time when we were talking about numbers, there's still some rulings coming down the road here that could come at the turn of the year where you could get more initial scholarships. So I think everybody is, again, in a holding pattern waiting to find out, because you can't just let everybody have free transfers. If you don't add initials, there'll be nowhere for all the student athletes transferring to go. And so if you introduce this giant market of everybody having the one-time exemption to transfer and be immediately eligible, but you don't add initial scholarships for the colleges, you're either going to be taking away opportunities for high school students, which I don't think anybody wants, or even taking away the opportunities for the young men to transfer. Because if the number is at a finite 25 times 130 is never going to change. So I think us, like everybody else, we're just trying to sign the best recruiting class we are. We still are on some really high profile high school targets that we hope to close on. But I think probably like most colleges, we understand that our plan has to be fluid because the rules are changing, as we're already, in mid-flight.
And just as a quick follow to that, there's a lot of debate about the transfer portal. I know I'm sure, heard the arguments in all directions, but with the success that you've had in the last 2 years, would you say that there's a reasonable chance that the transfer portal will become a permanent fixture in your recruiting plan?
For Miami, just us?
For Miami, yep.
I think our theory has never changed since day one of the program. We want to build our program. We want to recruit and develop the high school talent that's close by to our campus. And we want to be a program that's, built with high school guys. I think it's very similar to a pro model where you want to build through the draft. We still want to be the University of Miami, and we want these young men to want to play for know that they can be developed and reach all their goals in college and beyond while they're here. That being said, I think we will always look at the transfer portal as a way to solve needs on your team. And if you look at what we've done, I don't think we've just been haphazard in the guys that we've added, not just in terms of who the people are in the spots that we've added them. It's not just fantasy football. We're just, trying to just get whatever. There's always been a need at a position, whether it's age, whether it's a little more experience, whether it's just something that we don't have on our roster. It does give you the alternative. And I do think that the University of Miami, this city, this campus, everything we have to offer, I think it looks different when you've been in college for a couple of years. I think there's no doubt Chris Caputo, our outstanding assistant basketball coach, told me when he first got here, we've had a lot of success with transfers in basketball, is that, these young men, what they see when they're on a 48-hour visit, when they're 17 years old, they can be swayed by some things that when all of a sudden, 4 years later, when they've been on a college campus and they get it, they're looking for something different. And usually Miami checks a lot of the boxes of what they're looking for. And we found that to be true for football as well. So I'm sure it'll always be a part of us going forward, but we still want to build through the high school ranks.
Thank you.
Coach, we got time for just a few more. We're going to go to Susan Miller-Degnan at the Herald. Susan?
Hey, Manny. As of now, how many players who take regular snaps for you will be unavailable Friday for North Carolina State because of general illness or COVID-related issues?
I don't know. It's a funny way of asking the same question with different words, but number one, I don't know, because we tested today. We'll test 2 more times before the game. And second, like I already said before, we're not going to discuss the guys that have been out, that have been unavailable. It's just strange. It's a weird deal. Our players are not going to discuss it if when they come up here and if you ask them. We're going to try like heck to have a football team that we can stick on an airplane and fly to Raleigh on Thursday to go play them on Friday. So we'll find out. I'm going to find out when you find out. That's just kind of how 2020 goes.
And as a follow is, do you guys, when you do find out, do you guys share this information privately, or will you this week with North Carolina State? And if so, how far in advance do you share it?
No, there's no protocol for that amongst the teams. So, as you know, we release a list an hour before. I know Virginia had some guys out for our game last week. I never even heard of who they were officially before the game. We just kind of look at pregame warmups and sort of look down the other side of the field and see who's not there. So it's a serious deal. I mean, I don't mean to joke about it, but it's a threat that our players can feel, because the numbers are going up. Obviously, last week in the country was not a good week. Again, we take it very seriously, because the challenge is not getting easier. It's getting harder as the year goes on.
Thanks, Manny.
Last 2 for you, Coach. We're going to start with Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I realize it's midseason, probably a hard question to answer, but since you did a lot of self-evaluation last week during the bye week, I'm curious, this is going to be game 20 for you as a head coach. Anything you've kind of maybe learned about yourself through the last year and a half that you think has made you a better head coach?
Like you said, it's probably not the time where you're really self-evaluating, but what I will say for our program, and you've heard me say this before, is I think understanding a better understanding of the challenges of winning at Miami in particular. Every job is a little bit different, and I don't think you really know what it means to be the head coach until you sort of sit in that seat. And what has been our message all year of just respecting every opponent, respecting every week, because there's a lot of assumptions that go on with what this program should and shouldn't do that for whatever reason haven't been met. And I think just looking at ourselves in the mirror, and looking at myself in the mirror, and making sure that, how I message the team and how I talk and all those type of things, that the team understands the challenge week in and week out, because it's got to be harder to win than it seems, because obviously we've not been doing it in large quantities for quite a while. So I think just understanding that challenge and trying to play that out week in and week out, because every week you win and you're excited about it, you start back at 0 the following week. And in our league, you see it. You see some teams that we've defeated that are allegedly not held in high acclaim, and they turn around, they have really big wins the next week. So all we can do is go 1-0 every week. And I know that sounds like a coaching cliche, but I think we've devoted a lot of attention and energy this year to make that a reality.
Thanks.
Coach, last one for you is Barry Jackson from the Miami Herald. Barry, go ahead for Coach Diaz. Barry, can you hear us? All right. Never mind then. I think we're good. Coach Diaz, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you all.